Naaman's mention in the Bible may be brief, but his family left a deep mark on Israel. We learn the story of Naaman and his family and how his marriage to Solomon had a lasting impact on future generations. Let's now take a more in-depth analysis of these biblical characters and the legacy they left. Before we go any further, I would like to invite you to subscribe to our channel and share with us where you are following us from and how you are feeling today. Naaman, Solomon's wife, was united with a wise and renowned king of Israel, but she was also notable for her beauty. The Ammonites were not well regarded by the Israelites, along with the Moabites. They even tried to harm Israel by hiring the famous Balaam to curse them. Naaman's connection with the Ammonites had serious implications. According to divine law, his descendants were not permitted to enter the assembly of the Lord until the 10th generation. However, the story does not end there. When the Israelites disobeyed God by worshipping idols, he allowed foreign kings, like the king of Moab, to have authority over them. This culminated in a devastating attack against the people and the conquest of their city, the city of Palms. However, it is possible that Solomon was deeply in love with Naaman. However, this marriage had negative consequences not only for Solomon, but also for subsequent generations. Naaman's father, probably a suburbanite, who had given help to David and his people in difficult times in the wilderness. It is possible that David wanted to repay the kindness by marrying his daughter to someone from that family. However, this resulted in an unequal union between Solomon and Naaman. Solomon initially married the Pharaoh's daughter, which was a legitimate royal marriage. However, he allowed himself to be seduced by several foreign women, including Naaman. The problem was that he accumulated a vast harem of wives and concubines. As recorded in the first book of Kings 11:3, Solomon had 700 royal lineage wives and 300 concubines. His wives led him astray, even with his own mother's warning about the dangers women could pose to kings. Solomon continued to get involved with these women, who came from different nations, such as the Moabites, Ammonites, Edomites, Sidonians and Hittites, who practiced different religions with foreign gods. The tragic thing was that Solomon, who initially worshipped the only true God, ended up moving away from him and building altars to worship these foreign gods, promoting idolatry. In this, we see a violation of a crucial principle of God's law, according to Deuteronomy 17 verse 17, which warned that kings should not have many wives, as this would lead to apostasy. Surprisingly, Solomon was not the first king to ignore this rule. His father David also had multiple wives. It would be argued that Solomon may have found this acceptable following his father's example. This demonstrates how sin can be a slippery slope, gradually leading to immoral behaviors. Rehoboam was born a year before his father, Solomon, took the throne of Judah and Israel. However, he was not educated in the principles and virtues of God. At age 41, Rehoboam became king after his father's death. However, a central character in the story was about to return, Jeroboam. While Solomon was still alive, a prophet named Ahijah prophesied that Jeroboam would become king of Israel. Dissatisfied with this prophecy, Solomon attempted to assassinate Jeroboam, forcing him into hiding. After Solomon's death and Rehoboam's accession, Jeroboam reappeared due to Solomon's controversial actions. The United Kingdom of Judah and Israel began to fall apart. The smaller region of the south, led by Rehoboam, took the larger part of the north, led by Jeroboam. Jeroboam joined the people of Israel and asked Rehoboam to ease the heavy work that Solomon had imposed on them, promising his loyalty in return. Rehoboam sought advice from the elders regarding the people's request, and they encouraged him to heed the Israelites' pleas and secure their future servitude. However, he also consulted his peers, who gave him the opposite advice: increase his workload. Unfortunately, Rehoboam chose to follow the advice of his peers, resulting in the loss of half his kingdom. During Rehoboam's reign, the nation of Judah turned away from God, building altars and worshipping idols, disobeying God's command to worship him alone. Weakened by sin, Jerusalem was conquered by Shishak, the king of Egypt, in the 5th year of the reign of Rehoboam. The invaders plundered the treasury of the Lord's temple and the palace. Solomon's golden shields were taken, and Rehoboam had to have bronze shields made. He remained in conflict with Jeroboam, but his reign came to an end after 17 years. His son, Abijah, assumed the throne for just 3 years after his father's death. Ultimately, Rehoboam and his family left a disastrous legacy in their wake. It is often difficult to determine the exact moment when Solomon and Rehoboam turned away from God. Was it when Solomon took many wives or when he built altars to false gods? Sin usually works like a slippery slope, where one small slip leads to another and another, until the person realizes that they are in a deep abyss that is difficult to climb out of. However, it is important to remember that God has the power to renew our hearts, regardless of how deep we have fallen, as he did with David. Unfortunately, Rehoboam did not return to God and remained in the abyss of sin, leaving a story of disaster from which we can learn. This story reminds us of the importance of acknowledging our mistakes and seeking redemption, even when we find ourselves in difficult situations. It's a powerful lesson about how sin can gradually engulf us, but also about the hope that we can always return to the right path with God's help. When King Solomon married NAAMÁ and other foreign women, he inadvertently introduced the traditions of his pagan gods into the lives of his family and, consequently, into the kingdom of Israel. Solomon built altars to these foreign gods, and his son followed his example. However, the following question arises: how many people in the kingdom were influenced by the actions of these two kings? Could it be that people at that time passed by these altars daily, eventually leading them to worship these foreign gods? Did they pass this tradition on to subsequent generations? We are social beings, and our actions and sins do not exist in isolation, they have lasting impacts. It's an essential reminder of how the choices we make today can shape the future for generations to come. So let's reflect on how our actions can affect not only our own lives, but also the world around us and the generations that will come after us. Solomon's son Rehoboam made several bad decisions during his reign, but one of them stands out: he refused the advice of the elders to grant the Israelites' request and instead listened to his peers, which resulted in him losing half of your kingdom. It reminds us that the people we choose to surround ourselves with have a significant impact on our lives. We must interact with people of different faiths to advance the kingdom of God, but we must also be careful about the influences we allow on our decisions. As Proverbs 13 verse 20 teaches us, walk with the wise and you will become wise, but the companion of fools suffers evil. The story of Naaman's family is sad, but it offers us valuable lessons. Solomon started out as a man dedicated to God, but fell deeper into sinful patterns after taking 1,000 wives. He had an even worse fate as he grew up in an environment that did not value God and followed his father's traditions. Naaman's story reminds us that our family history does not have to be tragic. No matter where we find ourselves, God is the God of restoration. As David stated, God rewrote the text of my life when he opened the book of my heart to his eyes. If we turn to God, he can transform tragic stories into legacies of beauty and grace. So remember the importance of the company we keep and God's ability to bring restoration to our lives and families. Continue following our channel for more reflections and teachings. Don't forget to subscribe and give a like. Until next time, may God's presence be a constant in your lives, bringing blessings, joy and love. God bless them.